How we doing, folks? We're live with 3D Politics. Tom McKay, your host, here once again on an exciting Monday night. I've got David Van, David Oldham, and David D'Ambroso, the three most important Davids in Oklahoma. And, of course, your most exciting host, Tom McKay for 3D Politics. We've got a lot of stories tonight. David Van is back from assignment from last week. We got a story about the Ukraine whistleblower, of course, the rules change on the whistleblower, which ties into that. John Bennett, former state senator, has some information that David has looked up about terrorists and the situation right here in Oklahoma. There's a list of 11 pedophile priests that we're going to talk about. There's a baby that was born in Walmart and saved in Walmart. Yes. Constitutional carry lawsuit, and the goal of climate change keeps changing. Isn't that interesting how that works?
Yeah.
And amazingly, I have nothing to say about football till next week. But I just know that we're up to about every 3 minutes there's another flag, and I don't care if you're an Hercules or if you know him. So let's start off with this Ukraine thing. The thing that I've noticed is that the children today are coming home from college explaining how it is that this is so much like Watergate. And I'm simply amazed, especially from a 20-year-old that wasn't alive when I was, telling me what she knows about Watergate. But when I did go back to refresh my memory about Watergate, what I realized was that this was the CIA and FBI informants tapping a political opponent to get information illegally. That sounds a hell of a lot more like the Trump towers being tapped than it does, because there was no quid pro quo with the Nixon thing. There was no, crime committed with the Trump thing. It's very interesting how the kids today think the Ukraine situation is similar to the Nixon and the Watergate.
Yeah, no, there are similarities, but it's the opposite party doing the deeds.
Right.
Well, I just heard something today. If you notice, there's a lot of communication happening between our Justice Department and the nation of Australia, particularly, and some others. The narrative that's finally come out is, since it's illegal for our CIA to spy on our own people right now, what we do is we contract to a friendly country and ask them to spy on our people and then give us the report.
Specifically the Five Eyes.
Yes. So that was revealed way back in 1998 or 9 in a TV documentary about that very thing.
But it didn't stop the practice, did it?
Oh, no. We've got to blame Edward Snowden for something.
Yeah.
But everything that he really had laid out and that we see is going on right now is exactly what was revealed back in 99. Okay, he comes out 16 years later and somehow now it's a crime.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just TV news.
Right. Now, here's the problem you get. If you'll notice, I remember this happening in the early 80s. First, Maggie Thatcher comes to power, and shortly after that, Ronald Reagan comes to power. And you see this big change. All of a sudden, Pierre Trudeau is gone, and Canada, Rooney comes about. And what happens is they spill the goods on their predecessors to their new allies. And this is what we're about to see here. If you'll notice, when Trump first came to power, he had all those globalists in Europe that were just aligned against him. And slowly but slowly, they are all of a sudden either being replaced or singing a new tune.
Hey, Brexit and having a renewed patriotism for your own country is starting to take a little bit of fire. And this means that the globalists, I mentioned last week the one world government folks.
Yeah.
That is the socialist agenda, by the way. That's what I was talking about. It's not, just some conspiracy. They've been talking about it since 1850.
Wait a minute, you said one world government? You mean this? The OW? That doesn't mean white power. That means one world. Okay, go ahead. Tangent here.
But anyway, the whole point is that we are seeing a bit of a move and we're seeing this with Ukraine, with the new president or whatever he's called in Ukraine, coming to power,
Czar.
and he's starting to, to actually work with us and might root out some corruption. He was elected on an anti-corruption platform and so forth. And so it's actually kind of heartening to liberty lovers and people who love justice.
So who's well versed on what rules they changed on the whistleblower rules?
Let's let David explain that.
Well,
So what were they
it's
before?
fairly simple. You
What
just
were
had to
they
have.
before, and what did they change them to?
The rules were that you had to have direct knowledge of an event, which kind of makes sense. And now they quietly, about exactly 2 hours, 30 days before these unsubstantiated hearsay claims against the president have been released, they changed it to hearsay. It can be second, third, fourth, fifth hand.
Okay, now, you know, in just about any court of law where litigation happens, hearsay is automatically objected to on its own grounds. That we don't know that. It's just what some rumor was repeated.
Somebody said.
Yes.
Oh, I heard that Barack Hussein Obama is a pedophile. Well, if we're using these new rules, well, I mean, we've got to investigate him as such. I heard that he's running ISIS.
Plausible.
Oh, it's here. You know, I heard from a guy in the State Department that Barack Hussein was running a terror cell. I guess we have to investigate him for 2 years.
Okay. Now, the other rule is that it used to pertain to staffers with the intelligence community, CIA. Whistleblowers could report on their illegal activity. It did not include the chief executive of the executive branch. Trump was never part of it. Now they're claiming, oh yeah, we can tell hearsay.
Well, all
about
I
Trump.
have to say on this is something that we're never going to do. It's wishful thinking. You're not going to do it. I'm going to try to do it. I'm probably not going to do it. But we've got to listen to Saul Alinsky here and his rules for radicals the leftists have been using for decades. Make them, one of his rules, I don't remember which number, but it's very powerful. Make the other side play by their own rules.
Yeah.
Correct.
When the left talks about equality, they don't want to give you equality. They want inequality. They want equality just for them, which means more rights, not for you. We need to make the left eat this whole hearsay thing. If we're going to have these witch hunts based on hearsay, okay, let's hear it. Let's investigate the left into oblivion.
All right. Yeah, one of the things I noticed to finish off this whistleblower thing is that each time the left in the last 3 years with Trump has come on with any assault, they've essentially lost because of the credibility of their witness. Each time, the credibility of their witness has fallen away. So the one way you keep from having a problem with your credibility of your witness is by not presenting a witness, literally having an anonymous whistleblower that comes out first with the hearsay, and then they add another whistleblower after that. Supposedly,
Nancy Pelosi talked about this a little bit. They make up a claim, she told on herself, the Democrats, and then they get one of their allies to report on the claim. And then the claim is substantiated because they can say, oh, reports indicate.
right.
Well, it was all hearsay all along.
It was made up.
Yeah, and I think what we've got to look to, if we get to the Trump going to Minneapolis story, you'll find out there's a major problem when you change the rules when the Republicans hold the executive branch and have a different set of rules whenever it switchbacks to Democrat. You know, and that's going to go on. David Oldham, I'm going to want to find out from you, do we think there is a problem on constitutional grounds with, what do you call it, the arbitrary and capricious making up of rules, where we don't have a consistency on that? Maybe we save that for that discussion. But we've got to look at it, because when you start making rules on whistleblowers or whatever it be, and you cater them to, does it favor our side or does it favor the other? And we go back and forth.
Well, you look, it's very convenient. You know, apparently there's no problem with Joe Biden on camera saying, you know, I told Ukraine they weren't going to get $1 billion in aid unless they fired the guy who was investigating my son.
Yep.
Well, that's literally the definition of quid pro quo.
Right.
So that doesn't count.
Yeah.
But the president simply talking to a foreign entity is grounds for impeachment.
And
we know what it is.
Yeah.
All it is this.
Well, let's.
Yeah.
It is the Democrats doing what they always do, and Republicans are guilty of it to a much lesser extent, but it is, I want a thing to happen, so I'm going to bend the rules in reality any way I can, to the point of absolutely just breaking them in half in front of you to say, here are the rules, I get what I want. And that's what the Democrats have been doing, investigating the president and not investigating President Obama.
Well, and both sides have done it. Just to be fair.
Yes,
I mean, let's
But
be
one side
Americans
does it
here.
quite
Well,
more,
yes,
do they
yes.
not?
Well,
It
doesn't make it right.
The one side
Doesn't make it right.
definitely takes the lead in most circumstances. The other has its own pet areas that it wants to do the same thing.
That's
takes
true.
lead in, but then they each then follow the other, because the one thing that they are both united on is tyranny must remain.
Well, an expanding government
And
is the size and
because
scope of it.
because the thing is, that's where they retain their power. Now back to the whole thing about the invisible witness that we may never know about. Let's realize that in a criminal prosecution, the accused is entitled with the right to confront
The accuser.
or to be confronted with the witnesses against him, and to have a compulsory
Now,
process
this is a
to gain
political,
witnesses in his
In the
case.
it's a
evidence, right?
political trial, not a criminal trial, though. That's true.
Except it still is determining criminal
High crimes
and
and misdemeanors.
So it really does. He is
Do
still must have
the
witnesses.
rules of criminal law apply in an impeachment trial?
They will try to tell you no, but your rights don't go out the window just because you become the president of the United States.
Let me say this.
Nor do you gain any.
If an indictment,
Executive privilege.
which, and keep in mind, an impeachment is not a conviction, it's an indictment. It's
Correct.
to call forward a trial. When that happens, the Constitution does say it takes place in the Senate, and it's presided over by the Chief Justice of the Supreme
And
Court.
it is a trial.
Yeah, so the
But
Chief...
it's not a criminal trial.
Well, is it only a trial in the Senate?
It,
Yes.
Yes.
Only in the Senate.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just essentially a grand jury, if you will, in the
With the
House
Senate.
to
Right.
produce either an indictment or no indictment.
Is there enough evidence to proceed with the trial?
Yeah, but, I mean,
Do we not like this guy enough to
Yeah.
try to crucify him?
But it
Right.
is correct to say that a lot of it rests on the integrity of that Chief Justice.
Well, as we have talked in the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
all jury trials really come down to the jurist and the lawyers being just and consistent with the law, because they can steer that trial any which direction they want. And we've seen that. You've pointed it out with the hearings, the House and Senate hearings on various things, where we don't see things being done in a just manner or trying to find out truth of a matter, but rather just trying to ascribe some
So I
political
got two
blame.
questions before we put this to bed. Can they subpoena somebody before they have officially gone into impeachment?
No.
So what I'm saying, there has to be an impeachment trial before they can subpoena.
I think it's based on their own rules. It's not constitutional, because they can. A prosecutor has subpoena power.
So, and my other question is, after the transcript has been released, a lot of people are still like, 2 whistleblowers. Whistleblower for what? Once we have the transcript, you're not telling us anything we can't read.
Right.
So I mean, don't
And,
the
yeah,
whistleblowers
I-
basically lose any leverage?
And I should say, it wasn't the prosecutors; it's the judge has subpoena.
Yeah, and but prior to that, the House side, I've got to clarify and elaborate more on what you said.
Sure.
Anything they do has rules, right? And the rules are set up by their body. But any decision by the Speaker of the House or the presiding officer, they can do whatever they want, and somebody can holler, "Parliamentarian, they're violating the rules." And the parliamentarian can tell you what the rules say. And then a mere majority vote of the members can decide whether or not the parliamentarian was right or the presiding officer.
Well, or they can
So-
vote to suspend the rules.
That's another thing they could do. So it really, to say there's rules, the rules have no more binding power than the integrity.
To do anything.
Right. Yeah.
There's not a legally binding subpoena there. There's not even a trial.
But if you're going to indict him for contempt of Congress,
Then you can still do
then
that.
you need to show that there was a lawful order given to him which he did not comply with.
And they
without-
would be able to do that.
Yeah, I would
It's
think
like
so.
a censorship too. I mean, it's a slap on the hand. They can potentially detain him for 48 hours
Yeah.
at the maximum of
Yeah.
contempt of Congress will
But let's not
punish
kid.
you.
Okay, let's not kid ourselves. This isn't about a prosecution. This isn't about a conviction. This is about pure politics and throwing mud.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Optics. This is all about optics.
Right.
Politics is a pretext,
And
yeah.
when this is over, there will be another one.
Yeah.
And then another
Well,
one.
what was great is I heard on NPR, which I love listening to NPR and MSNBC, just having the views that I do. It's just a comedy hour. But I heard, and I missed her name, but it was a Democratic rep in Congress, and she said, well, what we're asking the American people to do is just to have a little faith. I know that we went through this 2-year process, and we found nothing, and we promised you daily that it was going to reveal that the president was worse than Hitler. I know. But this time we're for real. We need. I'm making an appeal to faith in the system that we can get this done quickly and fairly.
Hey, if you're just joining us, I'm Tom McKay with 3D Politics, another exciting episode on another exciting Monday night. I've got all 3 Davids tonight,